think the most rewarding aspect of my job comes back to a single moment in my past when, after presenting an idea to a client, that they started to cry. And the reason it wasn't that my ego was bolstered. It was simply that they surrendered and admitted that they actually really trusted me with their project and to design solutions for their challenges. And when that happened, I realized that can happen and you can get absolute trust. And B, at the moment of trust, your whole relationship changes. It elevates to a different level where you can speak more candidly, openly, and creatively. The idea came to me in university when I did my first fine art course. I'd studied a bit of art history, but really when I did my first art studio course, and up to that point, I was studying political science and philosophy, and math also prior to that. And I was thinking, how can I find a way to merge these things in some life path? So I was walking by the Faculty of Architecture at University of Toronto. I really had no idea what they were doing in there. And for a couple of years, actually while I was in it, I had no idea what they were doing and what I was doing. But eventually I began to figure out a number of things and started to really realize, for me, the poetry of design was the most interesting aspect of it. It wasn't so much the technical things, but the power of it when it's somehow done, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And layered over that, I built an interest in my career by figuring out that was a critical component of it, and it's a difficult aspiration. Anyone who tells you that's easy would be lying. It's like you don't know the resultant emotional response or experience that comes out of it. So it is, it is a piece of artistry. It's a piece of creativity. It's a practical endeavor. But I come back to the same point that I think I spoke to you about in a previous conversation, which is, how can we make this not only the experience of making this thing together, but in its final result, how can we make it reflective of its owner? The majority of our clients who really do appreciate and are looking for a process that allows them to express themselves. So one of our mandates is, one of our many agendas is to demystify the process, to normalize the process, to take it down to our level, a human level, to work together, solving actual problems. And in the process of talking about them, in the process of looking at alternatives, coming up with solutions that we never anticipated. That's the exciting point. That's a creative breakthrough. Some of the people who see our work in progress and finished say things to us like, what I like about your work is that it's not way out there, it's modern, but it's warm. And you seem to use materials in a fairly conventional way, but in unexpected ways. So when looking at some of our homes, for example, people feel connected to them by virtue of some familiarity. And that could be a familiar material, the way that you frame a window, the way you enter a home. And then we spoke a little bit about the bridge of a song. It's the counterpoint of your experience, really. And so you pass through that counterpoint a little uncomfortable, actually, and curious, and you question and you wonder a little bit. So to me, that's the intersection of the juicy part of the architectural experience, and then you come back to, if you're into consonance and harmony, you can come back to a place where you're comfortable again. So somewhere in the process, somewhere in the experience, somewhere in the final product, I feel like we've succeeded when we can instill or get a response out of the user and users that makes you a little uncomfortable, but all that more comfortable for having been uncomfortable. And so, yeah, it's a privilege, actually.